All right, all right, all right. We are live again, guys. My good friend Ross Williams is in the house today. Ross, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
It's always fantastic catching up with you. The stuff you're doing for business coaches and small businesses through your marketing organization is amazing. It's always very interesting hanging out with Ross. I've known Ross for almost 2 years now, and what a fantastic marketer. Ross, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about Modern Profits.
Yeah, thanks, man. So Modern Profits, I actually started it probably 4 or 5 years ago, and the whole concept is to help coaches, consultants, agency owners scale their business, and we do that through building out their digital footprint, their personal brand, and then scaling them with paid ads. And the word Modern Profits also plays on profits sharing their knowledge and
Hmm.
profits for money. So it's a pretty cool concept. And then I bring in a lot of my friends and the network that to speak at different events, whether that's networking parties or the masterminds that I put together. And that way we all come together and kind of share our knowledge with each other and grow that way too.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I think I got a chance to hang around with the people that you hang around with, and some phenomenal business owners. And I think that one thing that really stands out about Ross, how you do things, is that personal connection that you make with the people that you're working with. I don't know if that's just your personality or is that how you like to operate. Is that also ingrained in the business that you're operating?
It is. It's kind of something I don't know if it's came natural to me or if I've always had it that way. My dad actually back when I was 13, my summer homework project was to read How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Yeah.
and I think reading that book at such a young age kind of embedded a lot of skills in me subconsciously to go out there and really just connect with people and build relationships and I love doing that. So I take that everywhere, whether it's family, friends, business prospects, clients. I really try to implement those skill sets into everything that I do. And I find that from a client standpoint, I think it helps keep the longevity of the clients ongoing because they don't just feel like you're trying to get a buck off of them or sell them
Mm.
something. They really feel like you're trying to help them, and they build that relationship, and it makes working together a lot of fun too, when you can connect on a level that's bigger than just business.
Yeah, yeah, I think I totally agree with that. I think the first thing of working or having a business, for me, is definitely that you got to have fun. And if you're not enjoying, if you're not having fun, then it turns into a grind. You Before you know it, you don't want to show up, and it's crazy, right? Like, if you want to have fun, what better way of working than with people that you love, admire, and are friends with, right? Like, imagine hanging out with your friends on a day-to-day basis and just crushing it at work, right? That's kind of what we do at RepStack. I work with my brothers who are my co-founders, my best friends, and it's just amazing working like that. And so my other question for you, Ross, is how how did you decide to work with coaches? Because coaching is a very difficult niche, if I understand that correctly.
Yeah, so it was actually on accident, which most of the best things in my life have happened on accident. I was doing, for those that know me, I host events as well. And prior to COVID, I was hosting a lot of different parties, get togethers. I have a New Year's Eve party I host that has it's about 7,000 attendees. We literally block off 2.5 city blocks and lighting, sound, everything. We build the whole thing from scratch right in the middle of the neighborhood. And so what happened when COVID came in, I was out of business. And I didn't even know I was out of business because they're like, oh, we'll be open in a month, 2 months. And what's funny is they came on it was March 15th. They said there was not going to be any St. Patrick's Day parties, and that's
Hmm.
was my second biggest event of the year. And I
Wow.
was like, man, okay, well, it's just one event. And then that turned into, I had this annual cruise that I take 600 people on. That got canceled. And then the next event got canceled. And then when New Year's Eve got canceled again, we went full circle for the whole year. I was like, man, I'm actually out of business. So for the moment, what was 2 months was now a year. But during that time, I never let it actually slow me down. When we closed, I was like, cool, now I can start something new. And I didn't even know what that was, but I just started publishing it and stuff on Facebook. I started going to masterminds, sharing my ideas with other people at these events. And the knowledge I had from running ads and marketing these events really transferred over to the coaches I was talking to. And one of my buddies posted on a thing on Facebook saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a rockstar media buyer to run my ads." And it was funny because he actually said, "Send me a 2-minute video via email, and I need you to say this and this in the email," because I know that that's how he screens his people, to make sure he's got people that can follow instructions. So I was like, "Oh,
Nice.
screw it, I'll do it." So I went and he was a good buddy of mine, but I sent him the video. He called me like within 30 seconds of me sending the email. It's like, "Can you get on a Zoom?" We got on a Zoom. He hired me to run his ads, and in a matter of like 30, I think it was like 45 days, we had scaled him by 60% in sales. And he was really he's stoked about that. But when I was showing him, he wasn't hiring me because he didn't know how to run Facebook ads. He'd been doing it for years. He hired me because he didn't want to run Facebook ads anymore. And
Hmm.
when I jumped in there and started doing stuff, he was like, "How do you know how to do all this?" I go, "What are you talking about? This is what I do all the time for my events." So what was really cool was the techniques I was using to run events worked really well for coaching. But in addition to that, where event, you run that for 45 days, the event's over, and then you start from zero again. With coaching, you just could build on it every month. So it allowed me to really go in with the coaches and help them streamline their Facebook ads and get them ready to scale. And then kind of what happened after that is I would discover the holes, not in the ads, but the holes in their messaging or their funnels or their offer, and end up fixing what I call their entire digital footprint. So I took my knowledge and skill set from the events I was in, from the retail brands that I took to market, and applied that to their coaching business and focused on building that personal brand, that digital footprint. So when
Hmm.
we did run ads, it converted better. And that whole thing was kind of just a natural transition from forced from having to transition from the event world into a new world, and coaching kind of fell in my lap and worked really well.
Wow, that's great, man. How long did that whole transition take you from doing the events and then moving into the coaching niche?
Dude, it was so fast that by the time New Year's Eve rolled around, so they closed us down on St. Patrick's Day. So by the time New Year's Eve rolled around, which was what, 9 months?
Yeah.
Um, so I was already making more money in my new spectrum than I was prior to being shut down.
Nice, nice. Love it, man. Those are the stories, right? Like, I really enjoy that. Pivoting so fast, maybe because we don't have another option, or just because it's the type of people we are, right? Like, when, the rent still due, we gotta
Yep.
do something else. And how are we going to transition? But I feel that, you also have to get to that level before you can do certain things like this. Obviously, if it's somebody younger, then they go in from a job to a different job. That might happen. But for a person like you, who's an entrepreneur, pivoting, like you did, comes with on a is built on a basis of experience that you have, right? So it may not have been possible if it was someone else.
Yeah, so I mean, it comes down to the skill set, right? So I had the skill set, and it's a matter of where do we shift this skill set? Who can I help with the skills that I already have? And in just finding that spot, right? So it's a little bit of trial and error. It's speed, to go at it fast. But then knowing that, hey, I have skills that other people don't, and sharing that with them. And they have skills that I don't, and they share that with me. So that's kind of, what's really cool about this industry and about the network that I've built, um, with our friend circle, really, within this industry.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So I just before we go over to Sam, I want to ask you one more question, and I want to kind of take you back a little bit because I know you have a fabulous story, origin story, where you were doing a lot of different things, including door to door for a very well known brand. I think aesthetics brand or something like that. So I want to quickly go back to that time and. See like what was happening, what was going on, why did you get into that field, and how did that kind of help you build the business that you have today?
Yeah, so it was actually the hair industry. So I was a salon rep, and I was selling hair products to hair salons. So I worked for a wholesale distributor, and I would literally get in my car every morning and drive from salon to salon to salon. I'd hit anywhere from 10 to 20 salons in a day, and just walk in, introduce myself, and ask to speak to the owner, build relationships, and just sell right out of my briefcase, door to door, to these businesses. And how I got in that. So to answer your part one, I actually graduated college with a double major in finance and real estate. And I went to work for a financial firm. After about 2 years, anyone that knows that business knows it's really tough, especially for a 22-year-old who knows nobody with money and doesn't really have any contacts in the industry.
Yeah.
It's just a really tough business. But I did call it my master's degree in sales because they did train the heck out of us on how to
Hmm.
sell, overcome objections, how to prospect, how to sales pitches, all of that stuff. So they did a great job training us on that. And when I left that job, one of my clients hired me, and he owned the warehouse or the distribution center for the hair salons. So that's kind of how I transitioned into it. Again, it was another accident. I had no intention. In fact, when he offered me the job, I said no, thank you at first, because I had a double major in finance and real estate,
Yeah.
and I didn't think that that was really up my alley. I didn't want to do that. And he says, well, the offer's there. If you change your mind, call me back. So honestly, after a weekend of laying sod for $10 an hour just to try to make rent, I called him in the middle of the 400-degree weather, sweating my butt off, laying sod in the dirt. I called him from my cell phone. I was like, I'll take the job. When can I start? He's like, Monday. So I went in, and my goal was to become the first $1 million salesperson for that company, and I did. So I went out there with no knowledge of the hair business, no knowledge of the hair salons, and I just went, literally introducing myself, building relationships, and then I'd bring
Hmm.
in experts to do the presentations. I would just go out there and get appointments. That was my whole job: build relationships, be nice to them, get appointments, bring an expert in to close. And eventually, I did that enough, and I went to enough classes that I became the expert in the business.
Hmm.
And I ended up growing that from $1 million a year to $4 million a year, in product sales, face to face, without the internet. Our company did not even have a website. And that was only Orlando. So a lot of times in the internet world, they think like worldwide or nationwide, you're selling this
Yeah.
stuff. No, this was 2 counties. Literally, if you could drive from one end to the other in 30 minutes. So we were literally covering, I think I had like 500 clients in the area. And I was visiting them all face to face, at least twice a
Dude.
month. So we built that business. And what I learned from that, I was in a unique position where I worked for the distributor. So the manufacturers, the inventors, or the people that created these products would come teach me about their product. So I would build that relationship with the actual owner of the company, the product company. And these were big names. The women out there will know. We brought Moroccan oil to market. We brought Pureology to
Hmm.
market. We brought Keratin Complex to market. And this was before anyone knew what these brands were. So we were the first people in the field having to educate, teach them, not only the brand, but the technology, what made it different, why it would work, why they should spend 3 times more money for this bottle than the bottles that they already have. So we had to really overcome all those obstacles, which was very difficult. But being in that position of relationships with the product manufacturer. I worked for the distributor. I had relationships and was selling to the retailer. And because of the way salons are set up, I had relationships with the salon customers because they'd be in the chairs. I'd be talking to the owner while the customer is sitting in their chair getting a haircut. So I'm talking to the customer too, many times. And a lot of times I was so consistent on my route that customers would know me as well as the owners did. So the customers would say, "Hey, Ross," wave to me and call me over and tell me what's up as well. So their customers were kind of like my customers. But I was in that rare position that I had my hand in the pot of every single aspect of that process:
Mm,
manufacturing, distribution, retailing, and customer. And so I could actually take everything I learned down here all the way back to the person that's actually creating the products and how to shift it around, how to change the messaging and the marketing, how to repackage their offers, their monthly specials so that it would sell. Because if I know what why the consumer is not buying their offer each month because they always had deals, and I could relay to them, "Hey, they didn't like this offer because of this, but if we can spin it around, you'll sell more." And
mm.
so I believe that by me doing that, it helps some of these brands really switch up their marketing and their offers and their messaging to help them accelerate and scale beyond belief. And like I said, some of those brands, when we got a hold of them, it was their first day on the market and they hadn't sold one bottle yet, and they became some of the largest brands in the world. So it's branding, marketing, messaging, offer, start to finish, and I apply that technique into my coaches and consultants businesses.
Yeah, man, that's very exciting. And then also, like, what I'm noticing is that you took everything and you kind of front loaded it with your sales strategy. So when you are going in as a sales rep, you're not really going as a sales rep, but you're also going as a marketing person, like you said. You're going there as a coach. You're going there as a salesperson. So yeah, that's phenomenal, man. And and some of the best people, including yourself, business owners that I know in the agency world, have phenomenal sales experience, including yourself, including yours. Truly, I wouldn't call mine phenomenal. I worked at Best Buy Canada for 7 years, and this is before the time where like I couldn't sell anything. Like if my life depended on it, like a really shy guy. But I knew I wanted to do my business, and the sales job, a commission-based sales job, was that got me going, and the rest is history. So that's very exciting. So having all that experience now brings you to modern profits and everything that you're doing with the small businesses. I think, Sam, are you going to be able to go into your segment, or you want me to take over?
Oh, yeah, I'm super excited for that. Thank you so much, Azhar. Let me just quickly start with my round. So, are you ready for your first question, Ross? You have
Yeah,
three more questions up.
let's
All
hear
right.
it.
So, my first question is, what's your one advice for aspiring entrepreneurs out there who are looking to navigate success and also to build a very strong personal brand for themselves?
You broke up slightly in
So,
the middle
so
there.
I guess the question Sam's asking, Ross, is what's your one advice for new entrepreneurs looking to navigate success and build a strong personal brand? Like, like I think you've really done a great job on that side. And for a lot of coaches and a lot of agency owners right now, personal brands, everything, right? So, like, if somebody's just starting out, what do you can you just give us maybe some advice on like how the importance of personal branding?
Yeah, so personal branding actually it encompasses everything. A lot of people think of it as logos, colors, fonts, and things like that, or they think of it as reels and getting views and watches, and it's so much more. I think that's more like the gift wrapping. You really got to look deep because personal branding is everything that you are. It's how people look at you, how they perceive you, how you make them feel. And so you really got to think about that when you're building out your personal brand. And with that, the best piece of advice I could give is be authentic. And the reason why you want to be authentic is because it's going to come naturally to you. So you'll be able to do it forever. If you're trying to mimic someone else's style, even if you're doing it with good intentions, it's going to become exhausting because it's not the real you. It's not natural to you. So you're going to have to work harder at it. It's not going to come as easy. It's not going to, and your clients won't stick as well. The reason
Mm.
why is because it's not the true you. So it's going to attract clients that like that person you're emulating. But since that's not the real you, they won't stick around, because as they get to know the real you, that's not the person that got them in there. So if you show your true authentic self, when you attract those customers, they're going to love you forever because you showed them who you are and they loved you from the beginning. You didn't show them the version of you were trying to emulate. Like I said, one of your favorite
Mm.
emulators. Everyone's got different styles. And when I say that too, I don't want people to think that they're trying to, pull the wool over someone's eyes or be deceptive. I don't think that's the case most of the time. I think they see this person being successful, so they're trying to copy them and mimic them the same way, but it's not natural. So you want to
Yeah.
be authentic and do it your way, so that's natural. You attract people that like the way you present yourself, and then they're going to buy from you. And not only that, they'll stay with you forever, because that's why they came to you in the first place, because they love who you are and in the way you make them feel.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's great advice, right, Sam? Like you can,
Yeah.
and I've seen this happen in my business where, the moment you switch from trying to do something versus trying to be authentic and being real and just putting that person in front of the audience, you just wait and see the magic happen. It's happened so many times through my business journey, through the customers that we're dealing with, and things like that, it's easier said than done. However, Ross, like for someone who's just starting out, they obviously they would be looking at people that they admire and things like that. But what happens is that because they try to do something like I'm going to just do what Azar does or Ross does, but in that they just lose themselves, right? The
Yep.
real them kind of gets buried in all the intricacies and all these podcasting and the reels, like you said. But like if you can focus on that real you to pop out, I think that's the number one thing you want to start out with before you build
Yep.
out that personal brand.
And there may
Fantastic.
be some trial and error to discover what that is, right? So sometimes it takes a hot minute to discover what is the authentic you. How do you like to show up? Where is your comfort zone?
Yeah.
And then sometimes you have to build on that and train yourself to learn past the uncomfortableness to get there. But it's definitely a learning curve in the beginning, where you got to kind of try everything and see where you fit in the mix. But you got to be true to yourself, which will attract the right people.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, and I think that's very important, that it might take a little bit for you to realize what that comfort zone is for you, because it's not sometimes, and most of the times it's not going to come naturally. It's going to be out of your comfort zone. It's going to be something that you're not used to sharing with people. Some of the stuff that is going to be now required for you to be as a business leader to be sharing those things with public. Now you're going to have to get used to that, because if you keep those things hidden and you keep giving superficial answers to very specific questions, it's never going to click. So yeah, what a great answer. All right, Sam, question number two.
Perfect. Moving on to question number two. Ross, how do you stay ahead of the curve in this ever evolving field of digital marketing, especially with the rapid changes in the digital platforms?
Um, yeah, staying ahead of the curve, it's super important, because if you don't stay ahead of it, you're gonna fall behind fast.
Yeah.
Especially now with AI and with everything that's out there that's speeding things up with the transitions. How I stay ahead of the curve, honestly, it's networking. It's going for me. It's going to live events. When I go to live events, I meet the best of the best. These are the people that are out there sharing their ideas, and I build friendships and relationships with them, and we share with each other. I share with them what my experiences are. They share with me their experiences. They share their solutions. I share my solutions, and we learn off of each other, and we grow together. Even though we're running different businesses, we're all growing together. And really, that's one of the reasons why I host networking events and I host my mastermind cruise, is that it brings these people together where we literally can build these deep relationships and share everything we've been doing tricks and tips on how to excel faster and stay ahead of that curve. So basically, in short, it's building relationships with everyone that's ahead of the curve.
All right, love it. Like, really, it's networking and you're sorted, I think.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, it's that simple, right? Be authentic when you're going to be a business owner. Start networking. It's not rocket science, but again, right? We don't get to talk to enough people like you, Ross, where these things can be laid out in order of precedence on what we need to hit on. We tend to focus sometimes for years on the wrong things before realizing, man, I should have been doing this event circuit way before, right? Like I should not have done this before this and things like that. But yeah, I'm testament to your networking skills. The people that I've met through just knowing you. Like there's like 4 or 5 people that we're working with. We is in our circle right now, and that's all just because I know you. So you make that look really easy, but start following Ross if you guys want to make this happen a little bit easier for yourself. What we got next?
It's interesting you said that that's not easy for everybody. That's actually one of the reasons why I host the event I did, because I was going to these big, massive 5,000 person events, and my friends later on, time would pass and they'd see me tagged. I'm in Denver whitewater rafting with these guys. I'm over here having wine with these guys. And they're like, how do you know those people? I was like, oh, those are my friends. They're like, oh my God, I've been following them for years. Those are my favorite influencers. And they're like, how do you know them? I said, well, I met them at a conference. And it dawned on me in that moment that not everyone can walk into a conference like that and walk out of there with 10 great friends that they've connected with. Like, that's kind of a skill set that I've built over the years that maybe it comes naturally for me. But when I put together these events, I do it in a way that I call a risk-free environment. So I set it up to where even introverts who are terrified to talk to people, I make them comfortable and put them in situations where it's comfortable and risk-free for them to meet people. And I will literally just bring the right people together so that they start communicating in a natural way that's comfortable for them. And then it just kind of spreads. So by me putting together these things and sharing the invitations and making the personal connections directly and putting them in an environment where it's risk-free, I think that's been really cool for me to help people connect and network. And I've had many introverts come back to me and just thank me for helping them get over that curve and get comfortable being uncomfortable and getting them in front of the people they needed to meet.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I think if you need an introduction in the SaaS world or the digital marketing world, Ross is your man, because I think Ross alone has helped me out, introduced me to some amazing coaches that we needed help with on our side. So I know it works, and Ross's system works. So which leads to Sam's next question, which is.
The third question is the one that I'm most interested in knowing, Ross. How did you come up with this unique idea of modern profits, like combining coaching with cruising?
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for asking that question. So prior to me kind of going into the agency world of coaching, I was hosting events. And I have 15 years probably I've been hosting these events. I still do the New Year's Eve party because it's amazing. We did 10 years of an annual party cruise. There was nothing business about it. And I would bring about 600 people on a cruise ship. We'd rent the nightclubs out private, bring my own DJs. I actually had bikinis and board shorts created in my brand colors with my logos on them, and everyone that attended bought it. Our group photo was everybody wearing my bathing suits. At one point, one of my guests asked me we had, I think, 6 people get engaged on our party cruise over the years.
Nice.
And one time somebody asked me if I would marry them. So I got ordained, and they actually got married on my party cruise with these 600 people on the beach in the Bahamas. And their bridal party wore my swimsuits as their bridal wear, and they made their wedding colors my brand colors. So it's kind of cool that's how I know the power of these things when you put together an event right that builds relationships. Because I would see these people out and they'd come on my cruise with their one friend, and then a year later I'd see them with 50 people that they met at this event and they're best friends. So this it wasn't just a, oh, that was fun for the weekend. It built amazing relationships. So I knew the power of that. And spending that time on a cruise ship where you're basically disconnected from the world. You're having breakfast, lunch, dinner, excursions, karaoke, dancing, singing, swimming, sailboating, whatever that is. You're experiencing things together, and that builds amazing relationships. So that's kind of where my experience came from hosting events and knowing about the cruise and how awesome it could be. The other thing was, when I started going to these massive marketing conferences, I was like, well, this is cool. It's kind of like we're building relationships, but as business owners and things of that nature. So it's networking and growing my business, but I'm still building relationships. And I looked at this, I said, if I could take this educational business idea and mix this with my party cruise idea, I think I'll have a winner. Because it's actually way more cost effective, because your mastermind price includes your cruise, includes all your food. When you go to these big conferences, the hotel rooms are like $500 a night. Your food's like $20 for a cup of coffee. Like, it's crazy. So I can create an event that's actually more cost effective because everything's included. I can bring in these special speakers that I've met at these massive events, right? And I bring them in to teach us. So we do about 3 to 4 hours a day of education where the guest speakers will teach. But then we do excursions. We go out on a private catamaran sailboat. I get private cabanas on a private island. We have dinner every night where I place the speakers at different dinner tables, and the guests rotate tables every night. So by the end of the trip, every guest has had dinner with every speaker. And the whole idea is to not only teach them and have this speaker go on stage for 20 minutes and disappear and you never see them and they go to the VIP room and nobody gets to shake their hand. It's immersive and relationship building. So you're going to learn from them, but you're also going to chat business together on a catamaran sailboat with a rum and Coke in your hand. So it's really takes this whole learning, networking, relationship building to a new level because we combine it with experience. And when you experience things together, that relationship really goes to a whole new level. So in short, it came from my background in events and seeing these massive marketing events and combining the two passions together to create a whole new experience for entrepreneurs.
Love it, man. Well, I'm sold. When's the next event, Ross? When's the next cruise?
November 4th is our next one out of Port Canaveral in Florida.
And how do you book that? Do they go to a website?
Yeah, that's modernprofitscruise.com.
Gotcha. And the modernprofits.com, you can also go to modernprofits.com and you can probably get to that cruise, right? You'll have information there. I did see it. Modernprofitcruise.com. I think the Rep Brothers, we're definitely checking our schedule as we speak to join Ross on his event. It's exactly how Ross is describing it. Last year, I felt left out. This year, and it's a very tight knit community.
You have the FOMO.
Yeah, I have the FOMO. So this year, it's we're definitely gonna do everything in our power to make sure that we hit this. And then I highly recommend that Ross's network is like, if you want to see the power of personal connections, I think I haven't seen anyone better than Ross. Like, not just because Ross is a friend of mine and he's a he's a guest at my show. This is spending personal time with Ross over the last 2 years, and and then.
But how did we meet, man? Where did we meet? At a conference.
At a conference, at a bigger conference, right? And from there, like, even though I haven't been to one of your hosted events, but we did get to spend personal time outside of the conference a lot, and you were able to introduce me to people that I needed to solve some problems in my business, and the quality of those connections, I can attest to that everyone that you introduced me to was exactly what I needed at that time. So be authentic, you know, everything that just Ross said. I think it's perfect. Sam, I think you have one more segment left for Ross. Quick fire round.
Definitely. Absolutely. The cruise sounds super interesting and exciting, but we have one more round to go with. So, Ross, my next round is three more ideas where I'm going to mention three terminologies in front of you, and you're going to tell me the first idea that pops in your head within 30 seconds. So, are you ready for the first one?
Okay, I gotta be quick on my feet.
All right. The first one is cheerleading.
Oh my goodness. I was a FSU cheerleader, cheered in high school and college. I don't know if you dug into my background on that one.
We
Um,
did.
so yeah, I think cheerleading for me was just a life-changing experience, and it not only got me in front of a crowd when I was uncomfortable, the whole thing was uncomfortable in the beginning, right? Like here I was a male cheerleader in ninth grade, and I obviously in the beginning I got made fun of. By the end of the year, I was also MVP of the weightlifting team. So then the football players were like, "Wow, we can't do what you do." So then it just kind of flip flopped on them. And then it got me, into FSU cheerleading, where I got to travel the country with the team, which was back when FSU was amazing, and we won almost every game for those 4 years I was there. So I was literally flying on the plane from city to city with the team every weekend, and the experiences we got out of that was just unbelievable. Being in front of 90,000 people, and having to get them riled up, which I implement that into my events and my stage work when I'm speaking at the events and stuff too. So that's really unique talent. Over the summers, my summer job was traveling from college campus to college campus, teaching high school cheerleaders how to do different tricks and tips. But running those events helped me again. When we're running a 4-day camp with 500 cheerleaders, and you're the person in charge, learned so much from that I could apply to business today. And while we were at FSU, we had to go to these booster events. So now we're working the room with boosters, which goes into networking. So I think
Mm.
cheerleading had a massive impact, not only on my life, but positioning me for speaking on stage, being in front of a crowd, networking, organizing events. And I actually say sometimes when I do events, I think of it like choreography. So when I put an event together, I'm choreographing all the patrons or the attendees. I'm choreographing them. I think ahead of how they're going to move, what are the logistics, this, that, and the other, which is when I used to create routines and choreograph routines in cheerleading. That comes over to how I choreograph an event, which is why I believe my events stand out a little bit different than most people's events.
Yeah, I
Yeah, totally.
agree.
Sounds super amazing.
I may have a video on my personal phone where Ross is actually throwing a friend of ours in the air at one of our events at midnight, proving his cheerleading skills. But but it goes.
And she was not a cheerleader and had no experience.
Yeah, yeah, that looks really professional. We might be able to turn it into a reel, Sam.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that really stands out to me with what you're explaining is that sometimes, going the unbeaten path like you did, becoming a cheerleader, got you the whole access at FSU that, like any young person would just kill for, right? Like traveling the country, being front and center of all this attention,
Yep.
and
On the field.
and you don't have to go the extreme competitive route of becoming a football player. Instead, you found another way in there, and you stayed connected to what you love. I know you love football as well, and you're there every single day, and you're having the best time of your life while you're gaining a really intense skill, which in turns now we can see that in everything that you are doing subsequently, it's a big part of what you learned at that time.
Yeah, 100%. And when you're doing it back then, I never thought of it from what I was learning from a business or a life lesson mindset. I always thought of it just the physical, athleticism and the fun of it, but not the human life skills that we were learning that could apply to everything.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
definitely. All learning. Moving on to our next terminology, that is virtual assistant.
Virtual assistants. So virtual assistants can truly take your business to the next level. Uh, they can take a lot of stuff off your plate and allow you to focus on money making tasks. Um, for me, sometimes what they can do is all the things that I know how to do, I want to do, I need to do, but I just run out of time at the end of the day. I don't do them. So it can actually set you up to look better and more professional because you're now doing things that typically most solopreneurs or entrepreneurs aren't getting to in their day. So it's kind of threefold. Getting all those things done that you keep going, someday I'm going to do this, someday I'm going to do this, someday I'm going to chop up my podcast into 30 pieces and post it out there on the internet, or maybe someday I'm going to start a podcast, right? So they take enough stuff off your plate that you can do this, or they can do those things for you that you would never do. So they can take a lot of stuff off your plate that you don't need to be doing as a business owner, like posting your social media, screening your emails, really alleviate a lot of hours so that you can focus on your true business and what's going to bring in money. And then they also can help with prospecting, sales. There's so many different avenues where they can help. But I think those three key points is doing the things that you probably would have never got to, B, taking stuff on the plate that you shouldn't be doing so you can focus on money making tasks, and C, helping you to get more prospects or sales into your pipeline.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. My friend Austin
I think it's
Erebor.
buying back your time. So moving on with the third one is work-life balance.
Work-life balance.
Work-life
Ross?
balance. I am a true believer in the work-life balance. I think it's super important, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs they get so much into the grind and they worry so much about making the seven figures or making whatever, whether it's six figures or seven figures or eight figures, whatever their goal is. I think sometimes they're so focused on that they don't step away. And for me, I find it very important that you do find time for your personal health, your friends, and your family. So if that means you say, I'm not working on Saturdays and Sundays so I can spend time with my family, even though as a business owner, we can work whenever we want, some of our friends and family can't, right? So their time off is Saturday, Sunday. So if you set that and say, maybe it's just Sundays, maybe it's Wednesday evenings, but I believe in blocking out your time for friends and family is super important to do those things with them. And I just started recently doing a me first routine. And when I wake up in the morning, I do the gym. Well, first I walk around the lake and I listen to an audiobook while I'm walking the lake.
What are
I
you
walk 3
listening to
miles.
right now, Ross? Like, what's your latest book you're listening to?
I'm actually re-listening How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Nice.
So I'm redoing it again. And it's funny now that I'm listening to it again after I read it when I was 13, I actually am seeing like, oh, I've been doing that my whole life. Oh, I've been doing that my whole life. And then I also see some things that I need to work on and improve on too. So it's been really cool re-listening to that. And by doing that, like Russell's Expert Secrets, I went through that book on audio 7 times while I was doing my morning walks. So I think you can take it to another level and make book learning subconscious. But for me, the me first mornings is I walk the lake and listen to a book. I do the gym, and then I started relearning the piano. So I spend 30 minutes on the piano, and that's me first. And then I can start work, and I'll work till I'm done working. But if I have to work late, great. But what I found was happening the other way is I get up and I get to work, and I never would cut it off to do the gym and to do the book and to do the piano. So things just kept getting away from me. So I figure if I wake up and I get me first, then work, and then, obviously I block off time for friends and family throughout the week.
Yeah, I think that's a great strategy. I follow a very similar routine. Like for example, this morning I was up at 4:30, and did some morning routine, like prayers and stuff like that at the house. Just drink my collagen and the bone broth. These days I'm doing all of that stuff. Get the tough stuff out of the way, and then hit the gym. Then come back from, and while I'm doing it, listening to my audiobook like you do. and then come back. I still have some time, do a walk around my house a little bit. And by the time, like, I've already spent 4 hours on learning, making my body better, making my mindset in the right. Now I'm ready to hit the work. And I think that's a really great example of work life balance. We think about that, you just have to segment time for it. If you don't give time to yourself, you're not going to be able to build a great business, because guess what? Like, you go from 0 to 10 employees, you're going to be easily overwhelmed, and it's going to get transferred over to all your employees. So I think, like, right now, for example, we're closely approximately 250 people that I'm responsible for, but I do not feel a sense of overwhelm or anything like that. And I can probably attest to what you just gave us on the work-life balance, is that, focus on yourself first. Everything else is going to follow after that. But one thing that most people do struggle with, Ross, on the work-life balance, is going to be my last question to you, is that, for especially for people like me and you, like, who really enjoy what we do at our businesses, sometimes it's really hard for us to shut off. And like, my family sometimes gets, like, they're like, can you talk about something else by your work? Like, how do you kind of distinguish that when it comes down to dealing with your family and friends?
So, I've always thought about having these T-shirts made that say, "My friends talk marketing like your friends talk football." So, and I've had
Yeah,
people ask me, "Why are you always talking about business?" I go, "Because for me, it's not business. It's my hobby. It's my
yeah,
passion. It's an
yeah,
art."
yeah.
So if I was sitting here talking about soccer all day or football all day or painting, nobody would think that was weird. But because my version of painting is marketing, people think it's weird because we're talking business. I'm very fortunate that my family loves talking business because
Nice.
that my parents were both in sales. They both owned companies and businesses, so we love talking about that stuff. Um, and I also have built a circle of friends that love talking about marketing as much as I do as well. But for those that don't, the biggest thing is ask them what they're up to. Ask them about their hobbies.
Hmm.
Instead of telling them about you, find out more about them. Because if you can get them to talk about gardening, if that's their thing, or bike riding, or golf, or whatever it is that they could talk their ear off, just listen. Just ask them
Hmm.
questions and get them to go deeper on that and listen. And you don't have to intervene. In fact, it's probably better if you don't. You just ask them. If they stop talking, ask them another question and get them to keep talking. And then and they'll really appreciate that. They'll feel better connected to you, and you'll learn about them in a deeper level. But you will have to make a conscious effort as an entrepreneur for when you're talking to non-entrepreneurs, to ask them about their hobbies, and don't interject your thoughts into it. Just ask them more questions to get them to go deeper.
Ross, it's been fantastic having you here, man. It's always invigorating talking to you. I can't wait to see you next week
Yes,
at that
looking forward to it.
GHL event. Looking forward to spending a lot of time with you. And thanks for making the time out for doing this podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you
This
so
was
much.
great.
All